Hey guys, today we're going to be checking out Call of Duty Black Ops on the PS3 here in 2024 and see how the online is still holding up in today's day and age. Is it still lively? Is there still people out there playing? Is the game broken? And is there any cheaters out there? So I hopped in and decided to check the game out. I played on different days and times of those days, weekdays and weekends, to try to see how playable the game currently is. And the first thing I should probably mention is that this game is the second in the line of Call of Duty entries that is now broken on the PS3, so it does not save your stats if you have a PS3 account that is newer or you have an old one and changed your username at any point. So if you're a new player, or you're like me and who changed their username at some point, every time I restart the game, it will reset my rank to 1 in all my unlocks. If it's just the name change that's preventing you from saving your stats, you can actually call up Sony and get them to revert it to whatever it was originally. But despite that, from what I've checked out here on Black Ops 1 on the PS3, it's actually pretty lively. I actually consider it one of the more livelier games, Call of Duty games I should say, on the PS3, and that's actually pretty crazy. So let's quickly cover the multiplayer and then we'll talk about zombies. So because of this rank reset, there's a lot of low-level people around, but there's also a lot of people still playing that are actually, fine to save their stats and are higher leveled. So because of this, there's actually a decent mix of a lot of casual players and some pretty experienced, decent players out there. You're going to run into more of these decent players when there's less people on, so later on in the day, towards the night, and that doesn't really matter what day of the week that's on. Earlier on in the day and afternoon, you're going to find a lot more casual players, and just overall, I was able to find matches and lobbies pretty much all the time. And just to give you guys an idea how many players are actually on BO1 on the PS3, you can play more than Team Deathmatch. In fact, I was able to find people playing Search and Destroy in the middle of the day on a Wednesday, in fact. You can actually find people in Hardcore Team Deathmatch if you're lucky as well, and you can even find people playing Domination. So all that is pretty cool and adds more to just playing TDM or free-for-all all the time on some of these older Call of Duty games that are pretty much limited to those on most of the other games. But BO1 here is one of the exceptions. So during the week I was actually testing this game, I ran into about 1 or 2 different modders. Sometimes it can be hard to pick them up or tell, but other times it's quite clear and apparent. And BO1 here, the most common type of modder you might run into. In one case, I ran into a guy who was completely invisible and in God mode, so that's a double threat right there. And other times you might just run into people who are just straight up in God mode. But I will admit that that was actually few and far between. And I should mention, keep in mind, I am in the West Coast US region, so depending on what region you live in could determine what lobbies you're actually getting into and what players you're playing with. But yeah, for the most part, it was actually a pretty fun time returning to BO1 here, and of course, BO1 is simply my favorite multiplayer Call of Duty game, I believe. So, if you want to have the best experience possible on Black Ops 1 multiplayer on the PS3 in 2024, I recommend playing in the mornings or the afternoons, and probably not too late into the night if you want to avoid all the really good players. So, BO1 multiplayer here in 2024 is looking actually pretty decent, minus that terrible stat reset glitch that is probably never going to be fixed. But if you can ignore that, the game is pretty decently lively, I'd say. Even more so than some of the other COD games. With that said, let's get into zombies. And zombies, I have to say, pretty much any time of day, any day of the week, weekday or weekend, I was able to find a match of Kino der Toten. There was always the most people possible in Kino der Toten out of all the other zombies maps. It looked like you can find matches of pretty much any other map, especially towards peak times of the day, except Shangri-La, unfortunately, where that seemed to be pretty much nearly empty at any time of the day. But yeah, guys, BO1 here in 2024, minus that unfortunate bug, is pretty alive and well for the most part here in 2024, and it's awesome to see one of my favorite COD games still up and running with a good amount of players. But let me know your guys' thoughts on all this in the comments down below. Do you still play BO1 on the PS3? Be sure to smash that like button for more PS3 videos, and subscribe to see us check in on more PS3 games here in the near future. But until next time, peace out, guys.